welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts, us. It's Ariel and
Raylene. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Welcome to a rainy day. How's your day? Is it rainy over there?
Not yet. I'm hoping that it will, though. It's definitely cooler today than it was yesterday. Yesterday was quite hot. Today is looking like maybe like 19 or 20 degrees, so still warm. But yeah, it's been fine. I'm waiting for the rain, but my house is still orange, so you know who's really winning here.
All right, today we're doing an audio only episode because we want to. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Really, it's because CJ is going away for a vacation week, and so I have to edit this episode, and we're fitting it in last minute. Not last minute, but we're fitting it in. And I do not have time to edit a video episode. I can do this, though. This can be done. Yeah, how's your week been, Raylene? It's been kind of a busy one for me. How's it been over there?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. I think it was last week I mentioned that I had to take my cats to the not to the dentist. Well, 2 weeks ago I had to take both cats to the vet. And then the vet said that Simon needed to have a little tooth surgery done. And so last week was the tooth surgery. And so the last kind of week kind of was affected by that a little bit because Simon had to go. He had to be put under and he had to have a couple of teeth pulled. And then so for the rest of that day, he was just like drunk. Like he couldn't walk straight. Like it was funny, but it was kind of like, oh my gosh, my boy. But it was very cute though. And so I just kind of was cuddling with him and watched Gilmore Girls. So that's one thing that I've started doing is watching Gilmore Girls, which you and I agreed we would watch it we kind of both decided we wanted to rewatch it this fall, but you said, I'm going to wait till September. And I said, yeah, me too. And then it was like August 25th or something. And I was like, well, today's the day. I'm just going to start.
You sent me a photo of your TV and it with the Gilmore Girls title page. And I was like,
I needed something cozy for Simon. He wasn't feeling well, so I did it for him.
I love that. I think you said you should just join me. And I'm like, no.
But it's funny because I've done a few things that have kind of been fall-ish in the past week. So there was that, but I also, as I mentioned last week, I put up some orange lights and stuff around my house to kind of get the vibes going. But then also on Friday, I hung out with my friend Julia and we did something that we meant to do earlier in the summer, but we did it on August 30th. And that was what we've called Summerween, which we just basically wanted to celebrate Halloween in the middle of the summer because we wanted to, because we love Halloween and fall. And so we're like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to just have one day where we go all out and then we just don't talk about it until fall. And so we ended up doing this the other day. We basically just got together and we bought a pumpkin pie, we made some soup, we had pumpkin loaf, we drank tea, and we watched 3 horror movies. So it was really fun, and I highly recommend it. It's a little late now for anyone else to do this, but it was really fun, and I definitely want to do it again next year. And we kind of joked about it. We're like, oh yeah, this should become an annual thing, but on whatever day works, obviously. It was so fun. So I feel like I'm really in the fall spirit right now.
I feel the original idea was to kind of do Halloween in the middle of summer, but what it actually ended up being was the best kickoff to fall possible.
Yeah, because it was almost the last day of August, which I consider to be when summer is over, even if that's not necessarily true. To me, the moment September hits, I'm like, it's fall.
Totally.
So it felt really nice to kind of squeeze that in there and just ease our way into fall. And it was so fun. I stayed up until 2 a.m., which I haven't done in a long time. We had to watch 3 movies. And we didn't start until 8. We were like, oh God.
That's so funny.
And we were joking about, we're not 30 yet. We can do this.
Today is the movie tub, right? As our Patreon bonus episode. So you can talk about those 3 movies.
Yeah,
that'll be good.
I will definitely be shouting out those 3 movies.
Okay, cool. I'm curious what they were. Yeah, well, I'm very excited that fall is here. I was really trying to not wish away summer. Really trying to not wish it away because I distinctly remember it being February and me just dreaming of going swimming in the lake. And I did go swimming in the lake a few times. I didn't go as much as I would have liked to, but I probably went like 6 times, so that's pretty good.
That's a lot.
I really wanted to go every week, but I ended up only going like every other week kind of thing.
Yeah,
But anyways.
it's actually hard. Like we've talked about before too. Like summer for some reason is just so busy. Like there's so many things to do.
Busy.
And I think it's because you're trying to capitalize on the nice weather. So you want to do all of these different things that you can't do when it's not summer. And so you're trying to squeeze in so many things to this like 2.5 month period. It's crazy.
I saw this person from Arizona post. They were like, can't wait to go read by the pool this Labor Day. And I was like, oh yeah, people that live in the southern hemisphere, like, don't feel as panicked about summer as we do, because for us, we literally only have 2 months of heat. Like, sometimes you get lucky and there's a couple weeks in June that are warm and a couple weeks in September that are warm, but like at most, it's 3 months of heat. Like that's still only a quarter of the year that's hot. And so I think you're totally right. We're just like so desperate to capitalize on that warmth that you've got to pack in camping and swimming and going to the beach and going to like to visit friends and doing picnics, and we need to go, and you're just like trying to do everything. And everyone has like a thing that you're like getting invited to, and you want to attend as many things as possible. Music, outdoors, and going to the drive-in.
And like it's wedding season. So like,
oh my God, yes, it's wedding season.
There's too many things to do.
It's just crazy. And then it cools off again and everyone cools down. It is kind of a really beautiful rhythm to life, I think, to have the seasons. Like, obviously, I am completely biased because I grew up having 4 seasons, but I then lived in Honduras for a year and a bit. And when I lived in Honduras, it was the same season the entire year, right? It's always 26 degrees.
Yeah.
And some days are a little hotter and some days are a little cooler, but it's always basically 26 degrees and sunny. Wild. And the way that they have storms are like, there's a storm for a few hours and then it's gone and it's sunny again. Like it's such a different climate. And it was beautiful, but it was so difficult to like mark changes in your life.
Yeah.
Like kind of move on to a new phase of the year, because it just all was the same weather. It's interesting how that is so important to me. Like it's fall time now and I'm like, okay, now it's time to like calm down a little bit, get cozier, and then winter is hibernation, and then spring is reawakening, and then summer is full action, and then fall is slowing down again.
Like I don't think I could ever live somewhere that didn't have that natural rhythm. Like I wouldn't be able to just be in the sunshine all year round. That would freak me out.
That's true.
I'd be sad. I wouldn't like it one bit.
I don't think you would, no. It is like, I do think it's a happier place to live because the sun does make people happy, right? And
totally. Every time it rains here, people are like, oh, again with the rain. And I'm like, the rain is nice. Get over it.
We need the rain.
Yeah.
Have you noticed all the fires? We need more rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've had a pretty busy week. This week has really, truly felt like the last week of summer, in that like everyone in my family had like a big thing going on this week. Connor was in a video game tournament. I was doing a bookshop event. CJ was coordinating a concert on the waterfront. And then our 2 closest friends, Eli was also doing a concert series. And then Victoria had a big final exam. And so this is kind of like our core little family friendship group. And we were all just like, oh my God, like this last week, everyone had their big last giant summer thing.
Yeah.
And it was very exciting in that group chat to just sort of be like seeing everyone ticking off their thing. But yeah, it's been a really fun weekend, but I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. But I feel like today really is going to be the last day of summer, because today is Eli's concert, which I'm really excited to go and see. Yeah. He's a jazz musician. He's an amazing jazz musician. And so we're going to go see him play. And then I think we're all going to get like dinner or something. And then like give a big kiss goodbye to summer, and it's fall. That's beautiful. And like you said, like yesterday, so today's September 2nd, yesterday on September 1st, we watched the first episode of Gilmore Girls.
Perfect.
And It was perfect. And Connor's never seen Gilmore Girls before.
Yeah.
And I forget if it was me or CJ that like suggested that we watch it. I think it might have been CJ actually. And I was like, wait, yes, this would be perfect because I wanted to watch it in September and it would be really fun to watch it on September 1st. And we mentioned it to Connor. We were like, would you be down? He's like, yes, because I've never seen that show. So I would at least really want to watch the pilot to kind of see what it's all about. And so we watched the pilot and it is such a good pilot episode.
It is, yeah.
A lot of shows do not start off strong, right?
Yeah.
Like, my classic example of this is Parks and Recreation. As someone who loves Parks and Recreation, I'm happy to watch the first season. But the first season is not very strong in that show. The characters are not really who they're going to be later on in the show, and you can just tell everyone's kind of figuring it out. And I think that's because it was, like, very innovative of its time. Like, it was like a leader in that style of television.
That's like The Office too. Like they almost got canceled after the first season because it was so hated. But it's like, oh my god, I'm so glad that they were able to make a season 2.
Seriously. So I feel like often you'll love a show, but the first few episodes are like kind of weirdly different because it's like just the pilot's like testing it out. But the Gilmore Girls pilot episode is incredible.
I know there's so much good stuff in that episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, like Luke and everything, like everybody is just, it's all so exciting.
They just do, the writing is so tight and it perfectly establishes who all the core characters are.
Yeah,
a lot of the important relationships between everyone. Like you get that this mother and daughter are really close, but now she's a teenager and a tension and a new turn is happening in their relationship. You get that like Lorelai is super independent and she's like a go-getter. You get that she has this really fraught relationship with her parents. You know what I mean? Like you get all and you understand the town is super close knit, but then you introduce some new tensions. Like at one point, Lorelai mentions she wants to open an inn, and you're like, okay, so that's like a goal for this character. You have it mentioned that Rory wants to go to Harvard, and so you're like, okay, that's a goal for that character. So many things are like so beautifully established.
Yeah.
It's a perfect kickoff. It's like a perfect chapter 1 to a novel.
Totally. And I've been thinking about that for like all the episodes I've watched so far. I've watched, I think, like 10 or 11 episodes at this point. And every episode, I'm just like, oh, I love that they'll like kind of say something that's like, eventually we'll know kind of more background on that specific thing. Like they'll mention Rory's dad and it's like, okay, well, I know the full story of Christopher, but they don't say it right now. It's like they save it for later. And so I think it's very, very beautiful storytelling because like they're not just giving us everything all at once, like info dumps,
exactly.
It's all kind of like given to the viewer like naturally and slowly, which is nice.
It was so good. So I'm very excited to be in the fall mood. And I also bought a candle. I know you bought some candles too. I bought so many
candles.
I bought a candle yesterday and it's called Campfire Coffee and Cream. And it's so nice.
So good. Oh my gosh. Mine are all like called Pumpkin or Autumn Walk in the Rain, stuff like that. They're from Michael's. If anybody else in Canada wants these candles, just go to Michael's. They are cheap and they smell great.
I remember that I have a HomeSense gift card from a few years ago, and I want to go and buy some pumpkin candles.
They'll definitely have some pumpkin candles for you.
Yeah. For sure. All right, I do want to talk about this bookshop event that I did. We need to talk about this for a minute. So, as you guys know, I own a miniature truck that I converted into a bookmobile. And, I did actually kind of want to plug the video because I finally posted the video where I like do the truck build. And I'm really proud of the video. So I'll link that down below if anyone hasn't seen it and wants to see me like paint the truck and build the shelves and get ready for the first event. But anyways, I have been doing events all summer. And as we know, for a couple of weeks there, the truck was out of commission because it had some problems with a distributor cap and then with a belt. A belt broke. But thankfully, they've all been very easy fixes. And I was ready to get the truck back on the road. And earlier this year, like a couple months ago, I asked this event if I could be a vendor. And the event was Kings of Halley 7, which is a video game tournament here in Halifax. And I know about this because my partner plays Melee Smash competitively, And we've been attending this event for the last few years. And I just thought it would be so fun to go sell video game books to to gamers, to the gamers. And so I reached out and they were like really, really nice and they were so excited and they were like, totally, like, let's do it. That would be a fun vendor to have at the thing. And I was like, I think the truck would fit in there because I've seen different, like, I've seen a coffee miniature truck and it is smaller than mine, but I've seen a coffee miniature truck in that convention center because I've been to other events there. And we were like, yeah, it'll probably be fine. The event was on a Friday. On the Monday beforehand, I was told in the evening that the truck does not fit. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I've already ordered a lot of books for this event, and so I don't want to not do the event.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, like, we'll have a table to give you. Like, you could just set up a table. And I was like, okay, that's a good backup kind of a thing, right? Like, if at the worst, I can just sit there with a table. But I don't want to just do that. Like, I don't want to
This is Ariel we're talking about.
I don't want to just sit at a table. I was like, what could I do that would be really cool and fun and a little bit whimsical, but because I can't take the truck. And as I was telling Raylene this, I had this whole idea for a drive-through window experience.
Which we determined would require too much building.
Yeah, I do like the idea, but it's so high concept that I'd need weeks to build it.
With the book menu on the side, like an ice cream truck is what I meant.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love the idea. But what I ended up thinking up was Bissett Books, the reading lounge. So this would be basically setting up a little living room that would be super cute and cozy, but would have a bookshelf full of books I was selling and like a cute wooden table with books I'm selling, and I'd be sitting in a corner, and it'd basically be like, welcome to my living room. Yeah. You can come in and take a look and buy a book or sit and read and hang out and stuff. And quite frankly, I pulled it off. Okay.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy with, like I said, I found out Monday night and the event was Friday afternoon. So I had 3 days to pull this off.
Yeah.
And I coordinated 2 Facebook Marketplace drop-offs and 3 Marketplace pickups, where I got Connor, because I wasn't in the city, I got Connor to like drive around and pick up chairs, because I wanted like a really cozy lounge. So I had a really beautiful rug that I'm like obsessed with. I'm like, how am I going to use this rug in the future? Because it's a very beautiful rug. But I got this really beautiful rug to kind of create the coziness. I brought a lamp from home. I had a little wooden table, like a corner table. I had this beautiful like console table that I put the books I was selling on. Then I had a bookshelf that I put all my books on. I had 2 lounge chairs. It was... It was a whole set. It was a whole set. And I did have this wonderful person come visit. I had such a great chat with her. Her name was Zara. She came and visited me, and she was telling me that she's doing her degree, or just, I forget if she just graduated or she's close to graduating, but she is doing it in like set design is part of her degree.
Cool.
And I was like, oh my God, what do you think about my set? And she said that I did a really good job. And that to me was very important.
Especially on such a time crunch. It's pretty amazing.
What a time crunch. And let me tell you, people on Facebook Marketplace are terrible. Awful. It's a terrible place to be. Like, people don't respond, or they respond and then they ghost you, so you feel like you've committed but you haven't. And then afterwards I had to sell the shelf on Facebook because I couldn't take it home. And I had so many people who messaged and said they'd come pick it up, but then wouldn't text me for hours or like message me for hours. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sell it to someone else because I am desperate to sell the shelf and you aren't responding. And then I had this one person who got really mad at me. They were like, well, you should have waited. And I'm like, you didn't respond to me for 2 hours and you knew that I needed to sell this table today. Yeah. And like I had basically the last message I sent them was like, can you come at 7:30? Yeah. And then 2 hours had passed and it was now 6 o'clock. And I was like, okay, this person is not coming. And so I sold it to someone else. Well, I gave it away for free to someone else. And then this person responds and they're like, can I come in 15 minutes? And I'm like, no, what? No, you you didn't mess it. Anyways.
I know, I've had that so many times. It's very
terrible. It's just terrible. But in the end, it worked out. And actually, most of the people that I worked with this time, I say worked with, whatever, like bought stuff from, were really nice. And I had a lot of fun picking the video game books out. And I had a couple really sweet moments. Like, there was this couple, they really reminded me of you and Kyle, really. Because they were, anyway, you know why, because they were wearing bucket hats was one of the main reasons. But like, what with the boyfriend, I think it was the boyfriend, maybe a husband. The boyfriend was there to compete in the tournament. Yeah. But his girlfriend was just, there to support. Yeah. But she followed me on YouTube. And so she was so excited that I was there, and she bought a chicken and she bought a book and she bought a hat and pins, and I was like, this is so fun. Like, it was so cute that she saw me there. That was really fun. And I had some people that were not from the event just come and visit my stall because I post about it. And then I also did sell some books to some of the gamers, and one of the guys who bought a book, he was so nice. He came and he was like shopping, and we had like a really nice chat, and he ended up buying a book. And then he came back like an hour later. He's like, do you think I could sit and read a little bit here? And I was like, yes, that would be beautiful. And so he sat down in one of the comfy chairs and read for like half an hour. And then he had to go and play his match. Yeah. And he was like, this book is so good. And I'm like, this is beautiful.
What book was it? No, you have to know.
Crap, you're right. It was a tennis book about competition. Ooh. Oh my God, what was it called? Tennis. Oh no. I'll try and remember. I'll try and find it. But basically, oh yes, this was it. The Inner Game of Tennis is the name of the book. So it's a book about like getting into the competition mindset, which is really cool. My friend recommended that I have it. So it was a really nice event. I enjoyed pivoting to kind of a new style of setup instead of the truck. And like another reason that I was interested in doing this was because while I love the truck and I'm committed to the truck, there's a lot of limitations with the truck. Like I can't go inside with the truck. And so if it ever rains, my event gets canceled. And so I'm like, no, it would be nice to be able to have a backup plan. Or totally. In the winter, like I might get snowed out, or I might not be able to get to a certain place, or like this, it could be an event that is indoors only, and I could never bring the truck in there. And I'm like, it's nice to have other options for what I could do with the truck.
So do you still have all those chairs and stuff just hanging out somewhere?
Yes, I have all of it sitting in the Jeep, and I have to figure out what to do with my set. The only thing I got rid of was the bookshelf, because it was actually a little too big for the Jeep, and getting it in and out was a nightmare. And so I just was like, this couldn't work as a travel bookshelf anyway.
I wonder if there's some kind of like collapsible bookshelf option.
Yeah.
Something that you can kind of take down and put back up more easily.
There is. Like, I knew what I was looking for too, where it's like, I don't know how to explain it. They're like spindles on the corners, and you can kind of unscrew some of the shelves. Yeah. If you can picture that. And I was looking for one of those, but in my 3 days of notice, I didn't have time to get the perfect one. But the one that I got was really nice. It worked for the event. If you want to see pictures of all of this, it's on the Bissett Books Instagram for the little setup, which we can link in the description. But it was really fun. I will say though, I wanted to mention this. This was my worst selling event.
That doesn't surprise me.
No.
The truck, I feel like, probably draws a lot of people in to begin with. Like,
I think the truck does draw a lot of people in, but I also was like, I don't know if gamers are the biggest readers. And I was thinking about this because reading is like a very absorbing activity, but it's very calming. You can really do it to calm down. You can really do it to just relax. Those are a lot of the same things that gaming does for you. And so people like that are already really into gaming, like they're so into gaming that they're at a gaming tournament, are probably spending all of their like relaxing time gaming, all of their off time gaming. They're not really reading. This is just a theory. Okay?
I mean, just to put it out there, Kyle is a hardcore gamer, I would say, and he does not read, so.
And I'm like, it's probably just because like all of his off chill time, he's gaming, as opposed to spending that time reading. So obviously this is an overgeneralization, and I'm just like shooting ideas out there, but I didn't sell as much as I hoped to, and I didn't sell as much as at other events. But like, I went to a farmer's market where I truly expected to not sell any books. And I sold so many books. So I'm just like, you've just got learning. You're just learning about all these different types of events and environments and the type of people that go to different things. Not everyone's going to be is into reading, clearly. So yeah, it was still really fun though. And I'm really proud of everyone at that event. KOH, the Kings of Halley tournament. It was just really beautiful. And I love going to it every year. And it was cool to be a vendor at it this year. So that's my tale about the Bissett Books Reading Lounge. Speaking of which, shall we talk about our event?
Yeah. So exciting.
This is so exciting.
Share this out.
Yes. So Raylene is coming to visit me in a couple of weeks.
Oh my God, it's so
We're
soon.
so excited. There's kind of two reasons that this visit is happening. The first one is that it's my 30th birthday, and we both thought it would just be really special and fun if she could come visit. The second reason is because it's close to our 5th year anniversary of the podcast.
Holy moly.
And we thought this would be such a great way to like record some special content, do some special stuff for the pod, and celebrate 5 years of doing the podcast. So Raylene's coming to visit, and we knew we absolutely had to do a mini truck event.
Yep.
So, tentatively, it is going to be on September 22nd in or around Halifax. I am confirming the details now. We're still we're like 3 weeks away, so I haven't completely confirmed, but we will keep you guys updated on the Instagram and here on the podcast about exactly, like by next week, we'll have everything confirmed. Yeah. But we have been already scheming what books we want to buy for the truck and what books you guys have. So if you are in Nova Scotia and quite frankly, New Brunswick, and you listen to this podcast, you have to come to our event or we will cry. Yes, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to be there. We're going to be selling books. We're going to be hugging. It's going to be a great time. Oh my God, Raylene, you should bring the stamp that we use for mail, the Books Unbound stamp, so we can stamp books with that. That would be really good.
That'd be cute. Little Books Unbound
stamp. Let's do that because we have a Books Unbound stamp for your books if you want to be stamped. We'll stamp anything, quite frankly. Whenever I ask people, would you like a stamp? They're like, on what? And I'm like, sorry, I should reframe the question, would you like me to stamp your book?
Yeah.
Because I think people are so used to they're used to getting their wrist stamped at events or whatever, but they're like, why would you stamp me?
Like my hand? Like, what is this? Some kind of club?
That's so funny. So we're going to be doing this event. We're both extremely excited. We really hope that you guys come out because, I'm
so excited to sell books again. I haven't sold books in years.
Right? You're going to be so good at it. You're going to put me to shame. Wait. I'm just going to you'll see. I think you're going to laugh when you see what kind of bookseller I am.
I'm sure I will.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, so stay tuned. Mark down September 22nd in your calendars if you're in or around Nova Scotia to come visit us. If it rains, this is why I'm like, we can't fully I have to see if it rains on the 22nd, is there a backup plan?
I mean, maybe we just go to a coffee shop and have a snack.
And do a reading. Oh yeah, we'll just meet everyone there.
Reading lounge though. Yeah, we could think of a reading lounge backup because I do love the reading lounge.
I'll start scheming up things. Anyways, we're very excited. And I was going to say, this might be my last event of the year. I might do one more, but because of that, I would extra appreciate if people came to buy all the books I have, because they're just going to sit in my back room for a year.
Big summer blowout.
Otherwise, we'll do a little blowout. So, okay, that's extremely exciting.
Yeah.
We're doing great. This episode is on fire, Raylene. I think we should do the tag next, because I'm excited about it.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, today we are going to be doing the end of the year book tag. This is a tag that I created, I don't know, it was so long ago. Let me look it up. Yeah, let me look it up on YouTube. The end of the year book tag. Wow. 2015. So it's almost a decade old. That's hilarious. Oh, I think I feel like this might have been the first one. I think it's 2017.
Oh, okay.
2017.
It's still pretty old. 7 years.
It's still pretty old, yeah. Oh man, I'm seeing the house I lived in when this video came out. Crazy times. Crazy times. Okay. Ever since I've made this tag, people scream at me because they're like, because I always post it in September.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted it to go up in September or October. And people are always like, that's not the end of the year.
But like, read the tag, people.
They're like, you should have posted this in December. And I'm like, no. Because if you do this in December, it's too late.
Yeah, there's no point.
It's
kind of like the end of the year freak out tag or whatever. Like, this is about what are you going to do in these next few months? What decisions are you going to make?
Yes, exactly. What are your plans and your schemes and your reading ideas you want to try and achieve in the last section of the year? And if we do it now, we have like 3 and a bit months to get these goals done. Yes, so let's start this thing off. Question number 1. Are there any books you started this year that you need to finish?
That's a good.
Starting off with a real Ariel question.
Yeah, seriously, like who else would ask that? My answer is no.
Okay.
All of the books that I started this year, I have either officially DNF'd or I've finished them and moved on. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Raylene is so fancy. I have 2 that I feel like I would really like to finish this year. The first one is Anne of Avonlea, the second book in the Anne of Green Gables series. So basically what happened was I was reading it on my way to running this big Anne of Green Gables event that I did in Prince Edward Island earlier this year. And then I finished the event and I was like, I need a break from Anne of Green Gables for a couple of weeks. And I just kind of put that book on hold. But now that we've kind of swung over and now it's fall time again, Anne really is so spring and so fall.
Yeah, it's both.
Right? Like it has those 2 like seasons that I just feel like work really well with it. So now that we're back in fall, I'm like, I would love to finish that book this year. Yeah. The other one is Underground Overground. That is a book about the history of the Tube in England or in London. And I was really enjoying it. And I just put it down for some reason. I don't remember the reason. I never remember the reason.
It happens. You know?
It just happens. And I would love to go back and finish it. It's interesting, though. Usually when I answer this tag, Raylene, I have so many books in this section.
Yeah.
But because I'm trying to read 100 books this year, I'm not putting that many down. I can't just keep bailing on books. I have to finish them.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year?
Yeah, I've picked out 2. I mean, I have a lot, but I was trying to think of something that's kind of like early fall, not too spooky, not too deep into fall yet. And so the first one I wanted to give a shout was one that you and I actually want to buddy read, and that is Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg, which, to be fair, I don't know if this is actually autumnal in any way. I kind of was flipping through it because there's lots of like kind of posts that are like put up in the town or whatever, so they all have dates. And so I was flipping through and they're kind of all over the place. Like there are a lot that are in fall, but there's also a lot that are like December, January. So I don't know. I think it's just like a cozy kind of book though, so I think that I associate that with fall. So anyway, that is one. And then the second one I wanted to give a shout out is A Crooked Tree by Una Mannion, which is this one that I bought last year, I think, that is like about a woman who's driving in her car with her kids, and she like gets in a fight with one of the kids and tells her to get out, and then the kid gets out and then she goes missing. So it's kind of like spooky, like a little bit spooky, a little bit stressful, which is what I like at the beginning of fall. So,
That's funny. Okay, my first one is Anne of Avonlea. I do feel like that is a perfect, like, fall, like I said, transition book. The other one, this is funny, is Pet Cemetery.
Oh my god, that is funny.
Okay, so this is hilarious because this is officially going to be the first Stephen King novel I've ever read.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
You've read Pet Cemetery, I'm sure,
it's so good.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that, because I was going to ask you about whether you like that one or not. If you guys remember, earlier in the year, me and my little friendship group here started a novella book club.
Oh.
And one of the members in the club, Eli, was like, I don't care what we read. I just care that in October we read Pet Sematary. Because it's one of his favorite books, and he really wants us all to read it, and it's obviously a perfect Halloween book.
It is.
And so we were like 100%. So the book club really paused during the summer, and we were all very happy for it to pause, just like we talked about at the beginning of this episode. So busy. So we just kind of put it on pause, but now that it's fall, we're picking it back up. And yes, so Pet Sematary is in my October future. And I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I had some fun looking at this one. This next question is there a new release you're still waiting for?
Yeah, this one is interesting because my immediate thought was, no, of course not. But then I looked a little deeper, and of course there are a couple. So
okay,
the first one was actually, I'm going to mention this in the mailroom later, but someone in our Discord gave a little shout out to this book that's coming out the day before my birthday. So this book is called Didion and Babbitts by Lily Anolik, and it comes out on November 12th. So this is deeply exciting. This is a book that's letters between Joan Didion and Eve Babbitts, which is just so perfect. And there might be more to it, but I know that that's kind of like where the book started. And
sorry, did you say letters?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a Books Unbound book already.
Whoa.
Because I obviously read a book by Eve Babbitts earlier in the year and absolutely loved it. I haven't read Joan Didion yet, but she is on my list, as you will see shortly. I do have her in my little stack here for this tag. And so I really want this book. And the fact that it comes out the day before my birthday is just perfect. But there is one other book I also really want, and that is The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami, which comes out November 19th. So shortly after my birthday, but
yes,
I'm really excited.
It's funny that we haven't really talked about that one very much.
No, but like it's huge. Every time Murakami has a new book, it's kind of a big deal.
It's an event. Yeah.
So I'm pumped about that.
That's cool because I also have a birthday book. Ooh. There's a book that's coming out the day before my birthday, which I've talked about before. And it is the re-release of Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley. And this is in celebration of the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen, or the 250th birthday of Jane Austen. I don't quite remember. But they're re-releasing this book that is, I think it came out like at least a decade ago. They're re-releasing it with a new introduction by the author, a new cover that kind of matches her other covers now, but then also they're re-releasing the audiobook, and it's going to be read by Lucy Worsley. And if you guys have listened to the pod before, good. I just finished reading the Agatha Christie biography by Lucy Worsley and loved the audiobook. And then I was so excited to instantly start the Jane Austen at Home one by her. I started it, and she says she does a prologue, and then it's a different narrator for the actual book. And I was like, no! And so I looked it up. For some reason, I looked it up, and it said she's going to be re-releasing this in a couple of months. And I was like,
that's crazy.
Perfect. So I'm really looking forward to that. I also had written down the Haruki Murakami book. I don't plan on reading it. Nothing about it super intrigued me, but I am excited that it's coming out, and I'll be I'm curious to hear what others say.
Yeah.
And then the other one I wrote down that isn't one that I actually want to read necessarily, but I'm again curious to hear what people say, is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney.
Oh yeah.
I think that's probably the most anticipated book of the year for the literary community. Sally Rooney is such a beloved author, and she made such a splash with Normal People. I know Conversations with Friends was a fan favorite, but then it was really Normal People that smashed her into this world. And I'm very curious to hear how this one goes down, because we're in the middle of watching this big author.
I don't enjoy her books, but I want success for her. I'm cheering for her,
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm rooting for her, even though I read Normal People and didn't really like it.
I'm in the same boat.
Okay, but the final one that I found that I was like, ooh, I didn't know about this before. This is part of the reason I like having this question on here is because there's a lot of books that get announced in the last like few months that we didn't know about late last year when we like picked our new releases. This one's called Still Life with Remorse by Myra Coleman. This comes out on October 15th, and it's like stories and poems about her life with a lot of her paintings, and it looks so beautiful. So I think I'm going to have to check that one out.
Definitely.
All right. What are 3 books you definitely want to read before the end of the year?
This was a tough question because I still have quite a few, like, on my specific TBR that I made for myself.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, but in theory, if I don't complete it, what are the 3 that I definitely have to read? And so the first one I've got is The White Album by Joan Didion. This is one of the books off of my list.
That's awesome.
I really want to read her. I was hoping to read this in the summer because it just seems like a summer vibe. I'm kind of mad that I didn't, but whatever. I'm definitely going to read it before the end of the year. It's one of my goals. And then another one that's perfect for the season is The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. That's another one off of my list. It's just very massive, but it's also kind of like gives me summer vibes because it's like coming of age. Like the main character is 12 and I don't know. I wish I had read it in the summer, but it's okay. We're going to read it in the fall. It's going to be fine. And then the last one I have here isn't actually off of my 24 and 24 TBR, and that's only because I didn't own it at the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay.
And that is American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I bought this one like a month ago, and it is up there. Like, I want to read this so bad, and now that it's fall, I'm ready to dive in. Like, this is the one book I really want to make sure to read in October. So, yeah.
Oof, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, what did I pick? The number 1 top book that I really want to read this fall is Briefly a Delicious Life.
Ooh, yes.
This is a book that I read part of over 2 years ago, loved it, but then put it down for some reason. I think I mashed potato psyched myself out about this one. Yeah. And I just got so excited that I was like, I'm going to love this. Oh my God, I've got to read this at the perfect time. And then I put it down. God damn. And then last year, I know I was like, gotta read this one. Gotta read, didn't read it. This year, I'm like, oh my God, if I don't read it, I'm gonna lose my mind. So I have to read that one. I would love to read a letter collection. And I specifically didn't write down which one, but as you know, like last year, I really fell in love with letters. And I just feel like I don't want to let that go because I just love them so much. So I would just like to read a letter collection. And then the other one I wrote down was Moonbound by Robin Sloan. I think that would be really fun. I'm going to give it a shot. It is quite long, and I'm trying to fit in as much reading as possible, so I could see this getting bumped to January when I'll like reset my goals and won't be worried about reading 100 books, but I think it would be fun to give this a shot. Okay. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Is there?
So, like I said, I still have a bunch of books on my 24 and 24 TBR. Like, I think I still have to read 9. And I've already mentioned a few, but I have a couple more that I'm like, I've kind of been mashed potatoing them for the end of the year because I think I'm going to love them so much. And so those ones are Only Child by Rhiannon Navin.
Yes.
I just think I'm going to love this. Like, it's appealing to fans of Room, and Room is one of my all-time favorite books. So that already I'm like, I'm scared to read it because I'm like, what if it doesn't live up to the hype? But it probably will, and I think it's going to potentially be a new favorite for me. The other one is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it could go both ways. Either it's long and probably really crazy, so either it'll be too much for me or it'll be just what I need. So we'll see.
That's so juicy.
Yeah.
Yes, I wrote Briefly a Delicious Life. My God.
Ooh.
I just have this feeling I'm going to love that book.
Yeah. It's about a ghost, right?
Yes, it's about a ghost. Oh, I should talk about it for a second. It's about a ghost who dies in a monastery. She's like a nun monk thing. Yeah. I haven't actually read it, so I can't tell you. But she dies in this monastery, and it's been like 400 years or something, 300 years, 200 years. And now it's the I want to say early 1800s. and a family comes to stay at the monastery, kind of like an Airbnb, but
Yeah.
200 years ago. They're like, one of the parents or both of them are artists, and they want to rent out this place, and she starts haunting them. And it was just so cool. So I really, oh my God. I really think, I mean, I know it's going to be a 4 out of 5 at a minimum, but I could see it surprising me and being a 5 out of 5 new favorite.
Yeah.
The other one that I could see being my new favorite book of the year would be the Tove Jansson biography that I've started.
That's true.
I love a biography, apparently. I'm really liking this one. I could just see myself, just becoming like really trying to proselytize that one because it's so cool. All right. Our final question. Oh, this is such a juicy one.
It is juicy. I'm like, how much are we going to reveal?
Seriously. Okay. So the final question of our tag is, have you already started making reading plans for 2025? Ooh.
Yeah. 100%.
2025, big year. It's going to be a juicy one. I'm getting married next year, which is crazy. We will both be 30. That's crazy.
Uh-huh. Wow.
All right. Where are you at? What do you want to share? Tantalize
Yeah,
us
okay.
with
What do I
something.
want to share? So every year I feel like I like to make goals, obviously. It's so fun. But I do learn a lot every time.
Yeah,
I
that's
learn
why
a
they're
lot.
fun
I'm like,
too. Like,
wow,
good
I made
data.
some mistakes here. What can I do to fix this for next year? And this year, my big mistake was making too many TBRs. I don't know why I did that. I know that I'm bad at following TBRs. So far, I'm actually amazed that I haven't abandoned my 24 and 24 TBR. Like, I'm sticking to it. And it is because I really carefully thought about it and like thought about which books I was putting on there. And they are, for the most part, I found a few where I'm like, why did I put this on here? I should have put on something else that I like actually like I want to read more urgently. So I have made a few mistakes within the TBR, but overall I'm really like proud of what I've done with that so far, and I'm proud to keep pushing through because there are a lot of mashed potato books on that list. However, I've already decided that next year I don't think I want to have any specific book TBR.
Yeah,
I think I might have vibe
agree.
TBRs. I might have like ideas of things that I like, genres I want to read or something like that. Like I haven't really fully decided yet. But my main thing is I'm not going to lock myself in to any specific TBR.
I wrote this down as well, and I wasn't going to talk about it unless you talked about it because this was your, like, we were talking the other day and you mentioned this and I was just like, you're so right, because there's a perfect example for me this year is that one of my goals was to read these 5 specific nonfiction books. And another goal I have was to read 3 biographies. I am completely failing and just no longer really even caring about that TBR that I set.
Yeah.
But the goal of reading 3 biographies is a little structured, like it's a goal, it's a plan, it's a goal, but I can choose any, and that little bit of freedom makes it not feel like homework anymore. So there was like a real clear lesson there where I was like, you're so right. Like, why are we setting TBRs when they just stress us out?
Yeah, it never works.
Yeah. It rarely works. Yep, it rarely works. All right, did you have any other things that you wanted to tease?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I haven't fully like fleshed out all of my ideas yet. I just know I want to feel a little more free next year is basically my vibe that I want.
That's
so,
cool. Yeah. I'm in definite agreement with you about that one. Another one that I had kind of written here was I'm liking the idea of a reading vacation.
Oh.
This is not something that I've ever done before, but the idea of it would be like I pick a spot and everything around it is like the whole point of the trip is to read as much as I want to and as much as I can. And so basically, like, I would book a really beautiful hotel or Airbnb somewhere really beautiful where I would just be going to read. And that would be the point of the trip. And I've never done a trip like that before. And I think that would be so much fun. So I feel like that could be a really cool goal for next year. And the final tease that I'll do is, I mean, it's basically saying the goal, but I'm just completely not committing to it yet.
Okay.
Actually, I'll tease it even less. Basically, I'll just say, I like the idea of choosing an author and trying to read all of their books in 1 year.
Ooh, that is cool. Oh,
So-
I've never even thought about that angle for a goal.
I
That's the
know.
thing. I feel like there's so many things we could do if we just let go of the idea of specific TBRs. Although I guess that is kind of a specific
I guess that
TBR,
is a
but-
specific TBR, but it's kind of different. But
Yeah.
I don't want to say the author I have in mind, but I will say, like, I'm thinking a lot about this idea. I like this idea.
Ooh, I'm gonna start thinking about this. I want to guess.
All right, well, that is the end of the yearbook tag. That was really fun. I'm really glad that we did that right at the beginning of this last section of the year. If you would like to do it, we'd love to see your guys' answers. So maybe leave some in the comments or post it on socials and just, hashtag the end of the yearbook tag or tag us in it or whatever. And we'll leave the questions in the description as well. All right. Let's do our reading updates because we have some bookish stuff. I think this week, Raylene, let's do it in clumps. So how about you start us off and tell us everything.
Ooh,
tell us
okay.
what you've read, what you're reading, and what you bought. All in one. Take
is
your
fun.
time. Do your
I
thing.
love it. I love it. Okay, so I'll do my book review after. I want to say what I'm reading. No, I'm going to start with my haul. You know what? I'm in control.
Okay.
I got the wheel. So this past week, I just couldn't help myself and I ordered a book. I really been wanting this book, and you know what happens? I wait and wait and wait to try and find a used one, and eventually I just cave. So what I did is I bought The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, which is kind of like, what year did this come out? It's kind of random, and I've been like seeing this book around for a long time. It came out in 1989. And so it's the type of book that you can find like a little ratty pocketbook somewhere in a thrift store probably, which is what I've been trying to find but haven't been able to. I got this nice shiny like trade paperback version, and it's like a horror book, but it's based on a true story. It's a novel that's based on true events, which makes it extra scary. And it's blurbed by Stephen King on the front. He says, "The girl next door is alive. It does not just promise terror, but actually delivers it." Scary. So yeah, that one just sounds so appealing to me, like a classic kind of thriller horror. So that's another one that I really want to read this fall, and it would be satisfying because I just bought it.
That's so cool.
Okay, I'll do my book review now. Let's get this out of the way. So the book I finished is Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenters and Seymour: An Introduction by J.D. Salinger. J.D. Salinger was born in New York City in 1919 and passed away in 2010 at the age of 91. His 1951 novel, The Catcher in the Rye, was an immediate popular success and led to much public attention and scrutiny. He became reclusive and only published 3 more books between 1953 and 1963, 9 stories, Franny and Zoe, and Raise High the Roof Beam Carpenters and Seymour: An Introduction. So, yeah, I read this book, and it's 2 novellas that have been put together because they're both about the same character, basically. So the guy that's kind of the narrator that's telling the story is this guy named Buddy Glass. So he's part of the Glass family who kind of shows up other places in Salinger's book. So Franny and Zoe are both part of the Glass family. They're the youngest siblings in this family. And then Buddy and Seymour are the oldest. So this book, it's kind of interesting because Buddy is like telling the story and it's all about Seymour, the oldest brother, but Seymour never actually shows up in either of the stories. Like, he's just the subject, but he's not actually ever seen. And now I'm trying to remember, I'm like, does he even show up in Franny and Zoe? Like, I can't remember that book well enough, which is making me want to reread it. But anyway, so that's just one kind of like interesting thing about it. The first novella is about Seymour's wedding, and Buddy is like trying to get to the wedding, and he's going to be the only person from his family who's there. And so he's trying to get there, and there's just like a lot of circumstances that are making it difficult to get there. And he's just like riding around in a car with these strangers. And so the most of the story is just him talking to these strangers, and they don't know that he's Seymour's brother, and they're all kind of like being weird and stuff. So it was just like a comical kind of fun story. But then the second one is not only kind of depressing, but it's also the most plotless thing I've ever read. Like, it actually has 0 plot. There is no character like going for a walk. Like, there's nothing. It's just him kind of talking about Seymour and how much he loves poetry. So it's kind of
That's so
weird.
funny. Yeah.
It was really boring. Like, honestly, I got nothing out of the second novella. I kind of skimmed the last 25 pages because I was like, there's nothing here for me. Like, I just don't care. So that was really disappointing, but I did really, really enjoy the first novella. So like, I recommend the first one, but not the second one, which makes it really hard to recommend this book. And I feel like they don't go together. Like, I feel like the stories, even though they're about the same person, they don't like fit. Like, they're just totally different.
That's so interesting.
I don't know, it was very disappointing. And very
I
sad.
always thought that with the names. Like, the names don't feel like it's too
All
much.
of it is very clunky.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But yeah, I didn't realize until I like kind of was looking into J.D. Salinger that he's really only written those like 4 books. Like, it's kind of crazy. So now I have 9 Stories is the only book of his I haven't read. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any stories about the Glass family in that book. I'll find out when I read it, but yeah, I'm intrigued by that. That'll be weird to have read all of his books. Just like that.
Yeah, I thought there would have been more.
Right? Yeah, he didn't write very much. So yeah, I finished that yesterday, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready to start a new book. Let's keep going with this momentum on my 24 and 24 TBR. So I decided to pick up Jasper Jones by Craig Silvey, which is a book that's like a major mashed potato for me. I got this a few years ago and started reading it. Wasn't in the mood for it and put it down. So this is one that I've now gotten past the point where I stopped reading. I didn't even read the full first chapter. Like, that was how little I read. So yesterday I read the rest of the chapter. It was kind of long. It was like 50 pages. But I am definitely enjoying it now. Like, I'm in the right mood for it, and it starts out so kind of stressful. So at the very beginning, the main character is this kid named Charlie, and he's just like woken up out of dead sleep. Someone's knocking on his window in the middle of the night, and he's like, what the hell? And it's this guy named Jasper Jones, who's kind of like, he's a teenager too. He's kind of like the town outcast a little bit. Like, everybody blames him anytime like something goes wrong, or, you know, if a kid is like staying out late, they're like, oh, he's probably just with Jasper Jones. Like, he's that troublesome kid. And so Charlie gets dragged out of bed in the middle of the night by this guy, but he is like, he trusts him. Like, he doesn't think he's a bad person. So he's like, okay, I'll come with him and see what he wants. And he leads him to this like isolated area, and there is a dead girl hanging from a tree. And Jasper Jones is like, it wasn't me. You have to believe me. Can you help me deal with this? And so it's immediately very like stressful and very like dark. So it's perfect for the season. Although it's funny, it starts out, it says it's like the hottest summer in years or whatever. So it's technically a summer book, but it seems like it's like the end of the summer. So I feel like now is actually the perfect time to read it.
Ooh, okay,
and it's set in Australia, so it's just got a hot vibe already, probably. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm still like just 50 pages in. I've only read 1 chapter, but so far so good. And then I'm still making progress on The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. So I'm now like maybe 60% of the way through this.
Oh, cool.
Still really loving it. It is good. Like, there's a lot to the story I didn't realize and didn't know, because like I got to the point where I was like maybe 45% of the way through, and I was like, okay, he's been arrested, like what's the rest of the book gonna be? But there's like lots of events, lots of stuff, and I'm sure there'll be there's lots more to come. So I'm really enjoying it. It's very interesting, and like Anne Rule is a lot more kind of involved in the whole thing than I realized when I talked about it last week. Like, she was like sending letters to Ted while he was in jail, and like she was very like in close contact with him throughout the whole thing. So it makes it very interesting. And actually, the other cool thing about this book is that she, before realizing that it was Ted, like she knew him, and before this she was like signed on to do a book about the murders that were happening, like the disappearances, not knowing obviously who was responsible and stuff, but she was going to be writing a book about it anyway. And so it kind of just tied together beautifully in like a really twisted way. So yeah, it's just very, very interesting. So I'm really enjoying that.
That's sick.
That's my tale.
All right. That's my tale. All right, I'll tell you my tale. So the book that I'm reading and the book that I bought this week are the same book. So I'll start with that one, which is Parnassus on Wheels by Christopher Morley. So this is a book that I actually bought for the miniature truck. And I did buy 2 copies, and so there is one on the truck. I might order more, though, because
you might have to.
This is such a cool book. And so it's the first book that I've bought from myself, because I just had it, and I was like, I'm sorry. This is too cool. Like, I need this for myself.
Yeah.
So, I want to read you, like, the little synopsis, because I haven't actually read the book yet, so I don't really know what it's about.
Okay.
But it says, it's easy to see why this beguiling novella has been a longtime favorite of bibliophiles. The credo of the sprite-like book peddler who sparks the story says it all. Quote, when you sell a man a book, you don't sell him just 12 ounces of paper and ink and glue. You sell him a whole new life. Unquote. Except the complicating factor here is that the protagonist of Parnassus on Wheels is not a man, but a woman, and she has come to believe something rather daring for a woman of her day, that her love of books can rescue her from a life of servitude. Thus, this little-known prequel to Christopher Morley's beloved Haunted Bookshop is not only a charming romantic comedy, but an inspiring ode to a life in books. So it sounds very, like, angled at people who love books.
Seriously.
And it's about a woman who has a traveling book cart. Come on.
And, like, this is a prequel to a book called The Haunted Bookshop. Like, could this not be more perfect for fall?
Yeah, seriously, but I don't know what the Haunted Bookshop is. The Haunted Bookshop by... Have you heard of that?
No, I feel like I may have heard of it long, long ago, but I don't really know anything about it.
It's funny because they're talking about it like it's really famous and everyone's read it, but we've never heard of it.
I feel like it's an underground classic, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe it's an underground cult classic, cult favorite. It does have very good reviews on not very good. It has good reviews on Goodreads. But yes, anyways, I found out about this book because I was looking for books about book selling, basically. Or specifically about, like, traveling booksellers for the book truck, because I have a shelf of that on the book truck, and I thought it would be cool. And here we are, Parnassus on Wheels. I've only read, like, 10 pages. I could see this becoming a favorite of the year.
Oh,
It's actually quite funny. It's from 1917. It's quite funny. It's quite light. It's quite easy to read. And I'm just having a great time. So, feeling really good about that one. But there is a book that I read this week. I finished a book. I finished Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is the author of adult, teenage, fantasy, contemporary novels, and also comics and short stories. She lives in Omaha, Nebraska, where she grew up and where many of her novels are set. Slow Dance was released on July 30th, 2024. Let's start with the good. First of all, this was one of my anticipated releases of the year.
Yeah.
And I've read it. And I actually, like, read it within a month of it coming out, which is cool. And so I've officially read all of the new releases that I said I wanted to read in our first episode.
Wow.
So that's cool.
I don't even know what new releases I talked about. Like, I have zero. Did I? I don't remember. Well, it'll be a surprise at the end of the year.
It'll be a surprise at the end of the year, but I've read mine. So that's feels like a good accomplishment that I'm happy about. Because that was a TBR pile, a little TBR pile, right?
Good job.
So I've read those, and I'm glad for it. And if I'm looking at the three, maybe I won't say what the three are. People listening probably know, but I'll keep it I'll do a little suspense. Of those three that I was, like, excited about, all of them let me down.
Oh, no.
All right, we'll keep talking about the good. The second good is that the second half of this book was much better than the first half. Surprisingly, I didn't think that it would turn around, but I actually really enjoyed, like, especially the last third of the book, really enjoyed. The other good factor about this was that, like, it was a contemporary romance read, which I haven't read in a really long time. And it was just fun to, like, read a genre so outside of what I usually read. To dip my toes into a different world was cool. So I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a terrible book. There was a lot of factors that for me didn't connect and didn't work out, and I just felt like I felt frustrated a lot of the time I was reading it. So the book is about a 33-year-old woman, Shiloh, who, feels that her life has not gone the way she hoped and planned that it would. She married someone, they had 2 children, and then they got divorced, and now she's had to move back in with her mom into the house where she grew up, and so she very much feels like she's gone backwards in life, and the kind of inciting incident of the novel, the thing that starts it all off, is that she is attending a wedding of her best friend from high school, where she was in a trio of these two boys and her were best friends in high school. One of them is getting married, and she's excited, like she thinks it'll be fun. He'd moved away from their small town of Omaha, Nebraska, and now he's moving back because he's fallen in love with someone from Omaha. So this kind of character is coming back into her life. But the really like dramatic thing is that the third friend in the group, Carrie, that she's like been in love with for 15 years, kind of a vibe, is also going to be at the wedding, and she's like, oh, geez, here we go. I'm going to go see this person that I've been in love with for so long, and I shouldn't get my hopes up, and I'm nervous. And so I like that. I actually kind of like that setup a little bit. Like, one of the reasons I was excited to read this book is because I'm marrying someone I dated in high school.
That's true. Yeah.
Which it feels crazy to say that out loud. But when I obviously am so biased because I'm within it, but I love Connor and me's love story where we dated in high school for a few months and we broke up, and I never thought I would talk to him again.
Yeah,
and we didn't. We didn't talk for 10 years. I moved to Honduras. He moved to Toronto. Then I went to like university in Ottawa, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I lived a whole life for 10 years without him, and so did he. And then it was kind of a fluke that we got back in touch and became friends again. Mm-hmm. And then we fell in love. And I love that we like came back together because I don't really know anyone from my past. Every time I moved, I tried to just move on. I was like, I don't know you people anymore. I'm done. I'm starting a new life. And there's only really two people that I talked to from that era in my life, and Connor is one of them. Mm-hmm. So it's neat to me that we like reconnected, but what's so important to me is that in those 10 years, we went and we lived. And I lived in England for a while. He went to school. He did, taught himself how to code. He became a library technician. Like, he did all these things. He got into competitive gaming. Like, he did all these interesting things with his life, and he became a full person. Because both of us were not people. We were people, obviously, but we were teenagers. Yeah. We were not fully cooked at all. Yeah. And then we met 10 years later, and now we were like adults with jobs and interests, and we had stuff to bond over. Anyways, I like that story. And that's what I was hoping to find in this book. But what I actually found in this book was two people who are basically the exact same that they were in high school. Ugh. And that is so boring and disappointing and frustrating to read, because all of the same things that like kept them apart in high school, the fact that they couldn't communicate, the fact that they were so angsty, the fact that they were like had so much sexual tension but didn't know how to deal with it, all of those things were the exact same when they're 33. God damn it. That's boring. Yeah. Like, it's boring to me. And I'm just like, how are you not better at communicating? You're a 33-year-old woman with children. You have to be better at communicating. Gosh. Yeah. I also felt like, and he is like a 33-year-old commander in the Navy. Oh. You should be better at communicating, for God's sakes. Like,
okay, that makes no sense. That neither of them can communicate? What?
No, and so, I just felt like the tension of the novel was really frustrating because, why are we still at this same place? And I don't think that people that have to move back in with their parents should have any shame whatsoever, because we are living in an insane housing crisis, because, I also think the West is so weird about people living with their parents. Like, everywhere else in the world, that's so normal because housing is difficult. And so, of course, you'd live with your family, like, intergenerationally. It's fine. So that part of the novel doesn't bother me. But what bothers me is that she is so negative about it. Like, she's like, I can't believe I'm living with my parents again. I'm like, okay, but it's your life. Have pride in your life. Make decisions for reasons that you're proud of. I don't know. It just really frustrated me that she was such a downer. And I think that you can't enjoy a novel like this, like a rom-com, if you hate one of the main characters.
Yeah, you have to be rooting for them. That's kind of the joy of it all.
Yes. And so the first half of the novel, or more than half the novel, was kind of them getting back together. And for all those reasons that I mentioned, I found it very frustrating. But there was other reasons as well. Like, I felt like there was a lot more telling, not showing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it kept telling me that everyone loves her in her community and her students love her. But then you'd show me that she hates everyone and she never goes out and she doesn't like people. And I'm like, so how can those be the same?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. So there was a lot of things that I wasn't enjoying. But by the second half of the novel, when they were kind of basically back together, now I was having fun with it. Because I kind of felt like the reasons that they were apart didn't make sense. All of these things didn't make... Once they finally got back together, though, I could enjoy it, and it was cute, and there was funny scenes. Because Rainbow Rowell is a good writer, and she had great dialogue, and a lot of the book was through, not a lot of it, but there were good big sections that were emails back and forth, and texting back and forth, and those parts are so fun and juicy to read.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, and she's so good at that, like attachments and landline. Landline is all about phone calls, attachments all about emails, so she's good at writing that stuff. But I just didn't feel... This novel did not come together for me, unfortunately.
Damn.
And I am glad I read it, because I would have been curious regardless. But there you have it. That's what happened to me this week. I read that. All right. Well, I think that this has been a fun episode. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Shall
we send this one into space? All right. So this has been a good old time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Books Unbound. We're zorching towards our 5th year anniversary, which does feel crazy, and we're just grateful to all of you for listening. We're now going to go and hang out with our patrons. Oh, you could become a patron, It's pretty cool over there. Maybe you give it a shot for a month. I don't know. Try it out. Support the pod. We're going to go and record the Movie Tub, where we talk about the movies and the shows we've been watching. And yeah, we'll link to that. It's always linked in the description. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.